He had many faults, but it is a sad, sad blow.
Were you with him at the end?
No, he died in Paris of epilepsy. I had a telegram last night. No, I'm sorry, I was misinformed. I had a telegram last night from the manager of the Grand Hotel.
Was the cause of death mentioned?
A severe chill, it seems.
As a man sows, so shall he reap.
That reminds me, Dr. Chaswell, you mentioned christening, I believe. You know how to christen, all right? I mean, of course you are continually christening, aren't you?
Yes. Do you have a particular infant in whom you wish to christen?
It is for no child, Sir Doctor. I'm very fond of children. No. The fact is, I would like to be christened myself. This afternoon, if you have nothing better to do.
But surely, Mr. Worthing, you've been christened already.
I don't remember anything about it.
But have you any great doubts on the subject?
I certainly intend to have. Of course, I don't know if the thing would bother you, or if you think I am too old now.
Of course not. Of course not. The sprinkling and indeed the immersion of gold is a perfectly canonical practice.
Sounds like Caleb.
What time would you wish the ceremony performed?
Would 5:30 do?
Admirably, admirably. And now, I must not stay in this house of Sarwani for any further. But be not too bowed down by grief, for these tidings, evil tidings, are often blessings in disguise.
This seems to me a blessing of an extremely obvious
Caleb.
We must be on our way now.
Uncle Jack! Oh, I'm so pleased to see you back! But what horrid clothes you've got on! Do you go to change them?
Cecily.
My child, my child.
What is the matter? You look as though you've got a toothache. I've got such a surprise for you. You'll never guess who's in the dining room. Your brother.
Who?
Your brother Ernest. He arrived about half an hour ago.
My brother? I don't know what all this means. I think it is perfectly absurd.
You couldn't be so heartless as to disown him. I'll go get him. And you will shake hands with him, won't you, Uncle Jack?
This is very good news indeed.
After an open sign to his loss, his sudden return seems to me particularly distressing.
My brother is in the dining room? I don't know what all this means. Good heavens!
Brother John, I have come down from town to tell you that I am very sorry for all the trouble I have given you, and that I intend to lead a better life in the future.
Uncle Jack, you're not going to refuse your own brother's hand.
Nothing will induce me to do anything of the kind. I think his coming down here disgraceful, and he knows perfectly well why.
Uncle Jack, do be nice. There's some good in everyone. Ernest has just been telling me about his poor invalid friend, Mr. Bunbury, who he goes to see so often.
He's been talking about Bunbury, has he?
Yes, he's told me all about poor Mr. Bunbury and his terrible state of health.
Well, I won't have him talk to you about Bunbury or about anything else.
Well, I admit the faults were all on my side, but I must say, I think that Brother John's welcome is peculiarly painful. I had expected a more enthusiastic welcome, especially considering it was the first time I have come here.
Well, it is the last time I shall ever do it.
This is a perfect reconciliation. I think we might leave the two brothers together.
Cecily, you will come with us.
Certainly, Miss Prism. My little task of reconciliation is over.
Thank you, Doctor. Now we must be on our way.
Certainly, my little task of reconciliation is over.
Algie, you young scoundrel! You have no right whatsoever to Bunbury here.
Mr. Ernest Worthing's luggage. I unpacked it in the room next to yours. I suppose that's all.
What?
Unpacked it in the room next to yours.
Is it you, Jake?
His luggage?
I'm afraid I can't stay more than a week this time.
He took him down.
Ferryman, order the dog cart at once. Mr. Ernest has been suddenly called back to town.
Yes, sir.
Fearful lie you are, Jack. I have not been called back to town at all.
Yes, you have.
I haven't heard anyone call me.
Your duty as a gentleman calls you back.
My duty as a gentleman never interfered with my pleasures in the smallest degree.
I have no doubt about that.
Well, Cecily is a darling.
Do not speak of Miss Cardew like that. I don't like it.
Well, I don't like your clothes. You look perfectly ridiculous in them. Why on earth would you go up and change? It is extremely childish of you to be in deep mourning for a man who's really staying with you in your house for a whole week as a guest. I call it grotesque.
You are certainly not staying with me for a whole week as a guest or anything else.
I certainly won't leave you so long as you were in mourning. It would be most unfriendly of me. If I were in mourning, I'm sure you would stay with me. I should think it most unfriendly if you didn't.
Algie, you've got to go by the 4:05 train. And if I change my clothes, will you go?
Yes, if you're quick about it. I never saw anyone take so long to dress and with such little result.
Well, at least it's better than being always overdressed as you are.
If I'm occasionally slightly overdressed, I make up for it by being always immensely overeducated.
Your vanity is ridiculous. Your conduct an outrage. And your presence in my garden absurd. However, you must catch the 4:05, and I hope you will have a pleasant journey back to town. This Bunbury, as you call it, has not been a great success for you.
I think it has been a great success. I'm in love with Cecily, and that's everything. But I must see her before I go, and make arrangements for another Bunbury. Ah, there she is.
Oh! I thought you were with Uncle Jack.
I was. He's going to send for the dog cart.
Oh, is he going to take you on a nice drive?
He's going to send me away.
Then have we got to part?
Yes, and it is a very painful party.
It's always painful to part from anyone one has known for only a very brief space of time. The absence of old friends one can endure with equanimity, but even the momentary separation from anyone to whom one has just been introduced is almost unbearable.
Thank you.
The dog cart is ready, sir.
It can wait, Merriman, for 5 minutes.
Yes, miss.
That's it. Yes,
Cecily, I hope I shall not offend you if I state quite frankly that from the moment I first saw you, I thought you were the most radiant depiction of absolute perfection.
I I think your frankness does you great credit, Ernest. If you will allow me, I will copy your remarks into my diary.
Do you really keep a diary? I've given anything to look at. Hey,
Oh, no. You see, it is simply a very young girl's record of her own thoughts and impressions, and consequently meant for publication. When it appears in volume form, I hope you will order a copy. But pray, Ernest, don't stop. I delight in taking down from dictation. I have reached absolute perfection. You may go on. I'm quite ready for more. Oh, don't cough. When one is dictating, one should speak fluently and not cough. Besides, I don't know how to spell a cough.
Cecily, from the moment I first looked upon your wonderful and incomparable beauty, I dared to love you. Wildly, passionately, devotedly, hopelessly.
Ernest, I don't think you should tell me that you love me. Wildly, passionately, devotedly, hopelessly. Hopelessly doesn't seem to make much sense, does it?
Cecily.
The dog coat is ready, sir.
Tell her to come around next week at the same hour.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Uncle Jack would be very much annoyed if you knew you were staying until next week at the same hour.
Oh, I don't care about Jack anymore. I don't care about anything but you, Cecily. Will you marry me?
You silly boy, of course. Why, we've been engaged for the last 3 months.
For the last 3 months?
Yes. It'll be exactly 3 months on Thursday.
But how did we become engaged?
Well, ever since Uncle Jack confessed to us that he had a younger brother that was very wicked and bad, you, of course, formed the chief topic of conversation between myself and Miss Prism. And one who is much talked about is always very attractive. And one feels there must be something to him after all. I dare say it was foolish of me, but I fell in love with you, Ernest.
Darling, and when was the engagement actually settled?
On the 14th of February last. Worn out by your entire ignorance of my existence, I decided to end the matter, one way or the other. And after a long struggle with myself, I accepted you, under this dear old tree here. The next day, I bought this ring in your name, and this little bangle with the true lover's knot that I promised you always to wear.
Did I give you this? It's very pretty, isn't it?
Yes, Ernest. You have remarkably good taste. It's always been the excuse I've given for you leading such a bad life.
Oh.
And this is the box in which I keep all your dear letters.
My letters, but my own sweet Cecily, I've never written you any letters.
You need hardly remind me of that, Ernest. I remember only too well I was supposed to write all your letters for you. I wrote 3 times a week, sometimes oftener.
May I look at them?
Oh no, you couldn't possibly. They would make you far too conceited. The 3 you wrote me after our engagement was broken off are so sweet and so badly spelled. Even now, I can hardly read them without crying a little.
Was our engagement ever broken off?
Yes, on the 22nd of last March. You may see the entry if you like. Today, I broke off my engagement with Ernest. I feel it is better to do so. The weather still continues charming.
But I had done nothing wrong. Cecily, I had done nothing wrong. I'm very much hurt to hear that you broke off our engagement. Particularly when the weather was so charming.
Well, it would have hardly been a very serious engagement if it hadn't been broken off at least once. But I forgave you before the week was out.
What a perfect angel you are, Cecily.
You silly romantic boy. The hair curls naturally, I hope. Does it?
Yes, darling, with a little help from others.
I'm glad to hear it. Now, of course, there's the question of your name.
Yes, that.
You mustn't laugh at me, darling. But it's always been a girlish dream of mine to love someone whose name was Ernest. There's something in that name that seems to inspire absolute confidence. I'll pity any poor married woman whose husband is not called Ernest.
But, Cecily, do you really mean to say that you could love me if my name wasn't Ernest?
But what
Oh, I don't know. Any name you like. Algernon, for instance.
I don't like the name of Algernon.
But my own sweet, darling little Sesame, I don't see why you shouldn't like the name of Algernon. It is a fine name. In fact, it's a rather aristocratic name. Half the fellows who get into the bankruptcy court are called Algernon. But seriously, Sesame, if I was called Algernon, could you still love me?
I might respect you, Ernest. I might even admire your character. But I fear I shall not be able to give you my undivided attention.
Yes, well, Sesame, your rector is, I take it, learned in all the rites and ceremonials of the church?
Oh, yes. Dr. Chasuble is a most learned man. He has never written a single book, so you can imagine how much he knows.
I must see him at once on a most important christening. I mean, on a most important business.
Oh?
I shall be back in less than half an hour.
No! Ernest! Considering we have been engaged since February the 14th, and I've only just met you today for the first time, I think it is rather harsh that you should leave me for so long a period as a half an hour. Couldn't you make it 29 minutes?
I shall be back in no time.
What an impetuous boy! I like his hair so much.
Miss Fairfax called in to talk to Mr. Worthing. On very important business, Miss Fairfax states.
Isn't Mr. Worthing in his library?
I saw him go off in the direction of the rectory some time ago.
Indeed. Pray, ask the lady to come out here. Uncle Jack is sure to be back soon. And Madam, you may bring tea.
Yes, miss.
Miss Fairfax? One of the many elderly women associated with Uncle Jack and his philanthropic work, I suppose. I don't much care for women who are associated with philanthropic work. They seem so forward of them.
Miss Fairfax.
Pray, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Cicely Cardew.
Cicely Cardew? What a very sweet name. Something tells me we're going to be great friends. I like you already more than I can say. My first impressions of people are never wrong.
How nice of you to like me after we've known each other for such a comparatively short time. Won't you sit down?
Thank you. I may call you Cicely, may I not?
With pleasure.
And you call me Gwendolyn, won't you?
If you wish.
That is all quite settled, is it not?
I hope so.
Perhaps this might be an admirable opportunity to introduce you to who I am. My father is Lord Bracknell. You have never heard of Papa, I suppose?
No, I don't think so.
Outside the family circle, I'm glad to say, Papa is entirely unknown. And I think that is quite as it should be. Him seems to be the proper spirit of a man. He makes men so very attractive, Cicely. Mamma, whose views on education are remarkably strict, has read me up to be extremely short-sighted. So do you mind me looking at you through my glasses?
Oh, not at all, Gwendolyn. I'm very fond of being looked at.
You are here on a short visit, I suppose.
Oh, no, I live here.
Really? Your mother, no doubt some female relative of advanced years, resides here also?
Oh, no, I have no mother. I have no relations of any kind, in fact. Indeed, my guardian, along with the assistance of Miss Prism, have the arduous task of looking after me.
Your guardian?
Yes, I am Mr. Worthing's ward.
Oh, it is strange. He never mentioned to me that he had a ward. he would be as impossible to him as deception. But even men of the noblest possible moral character, as susceptible to the influence of a physical charms bonus.
I beg your pardon, Gwendolyn. Did you say Ernest?
Yes.
Oh, but it is not Mr. Ernest Worthing who is my guardian. It is his brother, his elder brother.
You never mentioned to me that he had a brother.
I'm sorry to say they have not been on good terms for quite a long while.
Ah, that accounts for it. And now that I think of it, it seems distasteful to most men to speak of his brother. Cicely, you haven't a load of your mind. I was growing almost anxious. It would have been terrible if anything went through a friendship like ours, would it not? But are you quite sure that it is not Mr. Ernest Worthing who is your guardian?
Quite sure. In fact, I am going to be his.
I beg your pardon.
Dearest Gwendolyn, there is no reason why I should make a secret of it to you. Our little county newspaper is sure to chronicle the fact next week. Mr. Ernest Worthing and I are engaged to be married.
I think there must be some slight errors, Percy. Mr. Ernest Worthing is engaged to me. The announcement will appear on the Morning Post on Saturday at the latest.
I'm afraid there's still some mistake. Ernest proposed to me exactly 10 minutes ago.
I still think there is some slight error, Miss Cardew. He proposed to me yesterday at 5:30. If you would care to verify the incident, please do so. I never chat about my diary. Why don't I always have something sensational to read on the train? I'm so sorry, dear Cicely, if there's any disappointment. But you see, I have a prior claim.
It would distress me, dear Gwendolyn, more than I could tell you, if it caused you any physical or mental damage. But I feel bound to point out that since Ernest proposed to you, he has clearly changed his mind.
If he has, I will consider it my duty to rescue him at once, and with a firm hand.
Do you suggest, Miss Fairfax, that I entrapped Ernest into an engagement? How dare you!
Shall I place the tea here as usual, miss?
Yes, as usual.
Are there many interesting walks in this vicinity, Miss Cardew?
Oh yes, a great many. From the top of one of the hills quite close, one can see nearly 5 counties.
5 counties. I don't think I should like that. I hate crowds.
And I suppose that is why I live in a town. May I offer you some tea, Miss Fairfax?
Thank you. Detestable girl, but I require tea.
Sugar?
No, thank you. Sugar's not fashionable anymore.
Cake? Or bread and butter?
Bread and butter. Cake is rarely seen in the houses nowadays.
Hand that, Miss Fairfax.
Ever since I met you, I thought you were distrustful and deceitful. I never deceived in such matters, Miss Cardew, and my first impression of people married to this young lady?
To dear little Cecily? Of course not. What could have put such a silly idea into your pretty little head?
Thank you. You may.
I knew there must be some mistake, Miss Fairfax. The gentleman whose arm is at present round your waist is my guardian, Mr. John Worthing.
I beg your pardon.
This is Uncle Jack.
Jack? Oh!
This is Ernest.
Darling,
A moment. May I ask you, are you engaged to be married to this young lady?
what young lady? Good heavens!
Yes. To good heavens, Gwen.
Of course not. You couldn't have gotten such an idea into your pretty little head.
Thank you. You may.
I felt there was some slight error in this cartoon. The gentleman who is now embracing you is my cousin, Mr. Algernon Moncrief.
Algernon Moncrief. Are you called Algernon?
I cannot deny it.
Is your name really John?
I could deny it. I could deny anything if I liked. But my name certainly is John. It's been John for years.
My sweet wronged Cecily.
My poor wronged Gwendolyn.
You'll call me sister, won't you?
A gross deception has been practiced on both of us. And I have one question to ask my guardian.
An admirable idea. Mr. Worthing, where is your brother Ernest? We are both engaged to be married to your brother Ernest. So it is of some importance to us of where your brother is now at present.
Gwendolyn, Cecily, it is very painful for me to be forced to speak the truth. However, I will tell you frankly that I have no brother. Ernest never existed. I have no brother at all. I've never had a brother in all my life. And I have not the smallest intention of ever having one in the future.
No brother at all?
None.
It seems to me, Cecily, that we are engaged to no one.
It's a most unpleasant situation for a young girl suddenly to find herself in, isn't it?
Let us venture to the house. They will hardly come after us now.
No, men are so cowardly, aren't they?
This ghastly state of things is what you call bumbering, I suppose.
Yes, and it's been a wonderful bumbery. Most wonderful bumbery I've ever had in my life.
Well, I'll tell you again, you have no right whatsoever to bumbery here. And as for your conduct toward Miss Cardew, I think that your taking in a sweet, innocent girl like that is inexcusable. To say nothing of the fact that she is my ward.
I can see no possible defense for your taking in a clever, brilliant, thoroughly educated young lady like Miss Fairfax. To say nothing of the matter that she is my cousin.
I wanted to be engaged to Gwendolyn. That is all. I love her.
Well, I certainly wanted to be engaged to Cecily. I adore her.
How you can call me to sit there eating muffins like that, I don't understand. It is perfectly heartless.
When I'm in great trouble, eating is the only thing that consoles me. In fact, when I'm in very great trouble, as anyone who knows me quite intimately will tell you, I refuse everything, except food and drink. I'm eating muffins because I am unhappy. Besides, I'm really fond of muffins.
I say it's perfectly heartless of you under the circumstances.
don't like it.
Good heavens. I suppose a man makes his own muffins in his own garden.
But you just said it was perfectly heartless to eat muffins under the circumstances.
I said it was perfectly heartless of you.
That may be, but the muffins are the same.
I wish to goodness you would go.
I haven't had my dinner first. You can't expect me to leave without having my dinner. No one ever does, except vegetarians and people like that. Besides, I have arranged with Dr. Chasuble to be christened at 6:15 under the name of Ernest.
My dear fellow, the sooner you give up this nonsense, the better. I have made arrangements with Dr. Chasuble this morning to be christened myself at 5:30. And naturally, I will take the name of Ernest. Gwendolyn would wish it. Besides, I have a perfect right to be christened if I like. There is no evidence that I've ever been christened by anybody. And I think it probable that I never was. And so does Dr. Chasuble. It is very different in your case. You have been christened already.
Yes, but I have not been christened for years.
Yes, but you have to be christened. That's the important thing.
Jack, you were at the muffins game. I told you I was rather fond of muffins. There are only 2 left. I have not had my tea yet. And besides, there is still 1 muffin.
Why don't you just go? I don't want you here. Why don't you just go?
Well, I'm going back to you now, so I shall go. What will I say? I can understand why you do not want to marry you just like that.
Immediately into the house, like anyone else would have done, seems to show that they still have a sense of shame left. They've been eating muffins. That looks like repentance. They don't seem to notice us at all. Couldn't you cough? I haven't got a cough. They're looking at us. What effrontery. They're approaching. That's very forward of them. Let us make a dignified silence.
Certainly, it's the only thing to do now.
Mr. Worthing, I shall be very particular to ask you. Much depends on your reply.
Gwendolyn, your common sense is invaluable. Mr. Moncrief, kindly answer me the following question. Why did you pretend to be my guardian's brother?
In order that I may have the opportunity of meeting you.
That certainly seems a very satisfactory explanation.
Yes, dear, if you can believe him.
I don't. But that does not change the wonderful beauty of his answer.
True, in matters of grave importance, style, not sincerity, is a vital thing. Mr. Worthing, why is it that you pretended to have a brother? Was it so you come up to town and visit me as often as possible?
Can you doubt it, Miss Fairfax?
I have the greatest doubts upon the subject. But I intend to crush them. This is not the time for German scepticism. Their answers seem to be quite satisfactory, especially Mr. Worthing's. That I think has a stamp of truth upon it.
I am more than content with what Mr. Moncrief has said.
So do you think we should forgive them? Yes!
I mean, no.
True. I had forgotten. There are principles at stake that one cannot surrender. Which of us should tell them? It is a most unpleasant task.
Could we not both speak at the same time?
An admirable idea. I almost always nearly speak at the same time as other people. Will you take the time for me?
Certainly.
Your Christian names are still an insuperable barrier. That is all.
Our Christian names?
Is that all? But we're going to be christened this afternoon.
For me, you are prepared to do this terrible thing?
I am.
To please me, you are willing to undergo this fearful ordeal?
I am.
How absurd to talk of the equality of the sexes. When questions of self-sacrifice are concerned, men are infinitely beyond us.
We are.
There are moments of physical courage which we women know nothing about.
We do.
Darling!
Darling.
Lady Bracknell.
Good heavens.
Gwendolyn, what does this mean?
Merely that I am engaged to be married to Mr. Worthing, Mama.
Come here. Sit down immediately. You must clearly understand that all communication between yourself and my daughter must cease immediately from this moment. On this point, as indeed on all points, I am firm.
I'm engaged to Gwendolyn, Lady Bracknell.
You are nothing of the kind. As regards Algernon,
Yes, Aunt Augusta.
may I ask if it is in this house that your invalid friend, Mr. Bunbury, resides?
Bunbury? No. Bunbury lives somewhere else. In fact, Aunt Augusta, Bunbury is dead.
Dead? When did he die?
Oh, I killed Bunbury this afternoon. Bunbury died this afternoon.
What did he die of?
Bunbury quite exploded. I mean that he was found out. The doctors realized that Bunbury could not live, and so he died.
He seems to have had great confidence in his physicians. Now that we have got rid of this Mr. Bunbury, may I ask, who is this young person who is holding my nephew Algernon's hand in what seems to me a most unnecessary manner?
She is Lady Bracknell, the daughter of the late Mr. Thomas Cardew, and my ward.
I'm engaged, Miss Cecily Antagasta.
I beg your pardon? Mr. Moncrief and I are engaged to be married, Lady Bracknell.
The number of engagements that go on seem to me far above the proper average which statistics have laid down for our guidance. Now, some preliminary inquiry would not be out of place. Is Miss Cardew, Mr. Worthing, at all connected with any of the larger railway stations of London? I merely desire information. Till yesterday, I had no idea that there were any persons or families whose origin was a terminus.
She is Lady Bracknell, the granddaughter of Mr. Thomas Cardew of 149 Belgrave Square, SW, Grevas Park, Donking, Schwerve, Sporan, 5th Shire, NB.
It's not unsatisfactory. 3 addresses always inspire confidence, even in tradesmen. Come on, Gwendolyn, the time approaches for our departure. I suppose it's a matter of form. I should ask if Miss Cardew has any little fortune.
Oh, merely £130,000 in the funds. That is all. So pleased to have seen you, Lady Bracknell. Goodbye.
A moment! Mr. Worthing. £130,000. And in the funds? Yes, Miss Cardew seems to me a most attractive young lady. Now that I look at her. Come here, sweet child. Pretty child, kindly turn round for me. The side view is what I want. Yes. 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 Oh, yes. Yes. It's precisely as I expected. There are great social possibilities in Miss Cardew's profile. There are 2 things that the society is lacking, and that is principle and profile. The chin a little higher, dear. Style largely depends on how the chin is worn. They are worn very high just at present. Yes. Algernon, there are great social possibilities in Miss Cardew's profile.
Cecily is the sweetest, prettiest girl I have ever met. And I don't give 2 pence for her social possibilities.
Algernon, never speak disrespectfully of society. Only those who can't get into it do that. Dear child, I hope you know Algernon has nothing to depend upon. Well, except his debts. But I've never been in favor of mercenary marriages. When I married Lord Bracknell, I had no fortune of any kind. But I never dreamt for a moment of allowing that to stand in my way. I suppose I must give my consent.
Thank you, Aunt Augusta.
You may kiss me, Cecily.
Thank you, Lady Bracknell.
And you may address me as Aunt Augusta for the future.
Thank you, Aunt Augusta.
Marriage should take place quite soon, I think. I've never been in favor of long engagements. They allow one to find out the character of the one you're going to marry, which is not advisable, I think.
Thank you, Aunt Augusta.
Pray, excuse me, Lady Bracknell, but this engagement is quite out of the question. I am Miss Cardew's guardian, and she cannot marry without my consent. That consent I absolutely decline to give.
Upon what grounds, may I ask?
It pains me very much, Lady Bracknell, to speak frankly about your nephew. But I do not at all approve of his moral character. I suspect him of being untruthful.
My nephew Algernon? Untruthful? That is impossible. He is an Oxonian.
He obtained admission into my house under the false pretense of being my brother. He succeeded in the course of the afternoon in alienating the affections of my only ward, and subsequently stayed for tea and devoured every single muffin. What makes his conduct all the more heartless is that he knew perfectly well from the first that I have no brother, that I've never had a brother, and that I don't ever intend to having one, even of any kind.
After careful consideration, I have decided to entirely overlook my nephew's conduct towards you.
That is very generous of you, Lady Bracknell. My own consent, however, is unalterable. I decline to give my consent.
Come here, child. How old are you? Well, I'm really only 18, but I always admit to 20 when I go to evening parties. Well, it will not be long before you come of age, and you will be free from the restraints of tutelage. So I think your guardian's consent is not, after all, any importance.
Pray, excuse me, Lady Bracknell, for interrupting you again. But according to the terms of her grandfather's will, Miss Cardew does not legally come of age until she is 35.
That doesn't seem of any grave importance. 35 is a very attractive age. London society is full of women of the highest birth who have remained of their own free will 35 for years. Lady Dumbleton is an example of point. She has, to my own knowledge, remained 35 ever since she arrived at the age of 40, which was some time ago now. Yes, I do not see any reason why you wouldn't be even more attractive at the age he mentions than you are now. And there would be an accumulation of property. Algy, could you wait for me till I was 35?
You know I could, Cecily. Of course I could.
Yes, I felt it instinctively. But I couldn't wait all that time.
Neither can I.
I hate waiting even 5 minutes for anyone.
I know.
And waiting even to be married is quite out of the question.
I know. Then what is to be done?
I don't know, Mr. Moncrief. As Miss Cardew states that she positively cannot wait until she is 35, a remark which I am bound to say shows a bit of an impatient nature, I beg of you to reconsider your decision.
My dear Lady Bracknell, the matter is entirely in your own hands. The moment you give your consent to my marriage with Gwendolen, I will gladly allow your nephew to form an alliance with my ward.
Mr. Worthing, you know quite well that what you suggest is entirely out of the question. Come on, Gwendolen, we've missed 5, if not 6 trains. Any more would expose us to comment on the platform.
Everything is quite ready for the christenings this afternoon.
The christenings? Is that not somewhat premature?
Lady Bracknell, these 2 men have expressed a desire for immediate christenings.
At their age? The idea is grotesque and irreligious. Algernon, I entirely forbid you from going through with it. If Lord Bracknell knew this was how you wasted your time and money, he would be utterly disappointed.
Then, am I to understand that there are to be no christenings at all this afternoon?
I don't think, as things are now, that it would be of much practical value to either of us, Dr. Chaswell.
I was just informed by the pew opener that Miss Prism has been waiting for me for the past hour and a half at the vestry. I must be on my way to join her.
Prism? Did I hear you mention a Miss Prism?
Yes, Lady Bracknell. She's the most cultivated of ladies in the mere picture of respectability.
Well, is she a female of repellent aspects remotely connected with education?
She's the very picture of respectability.
What position does she hold in your household?
Miss Prism, Lady Bracknell, has been for the past 3 years Miss Cardew's esteemed governess and valued companion.
Despite what I hear of her, I must see her immediately. Let her be sent for.
She approaches. She is nigh.
I was told you expected me in the vestry, dear Canon. I have been waiting for you there for an hour and 3/4.
Prism! Prism, come here! Prism! Where is that baby? Prism! Prism, come here right now! Stop right there! 28 years ago, you left Lord Crackdale's house, number 104 Upper Grosvenor Street. You were in charge of the care of a perambulator containing a male child. You never returned. 2 weeks later, through the elaborate investigations of the Metropolitan Police, the perambulator was found, containing a manuscript of a 3-volume novel of more than usually revolting sentimentalities. But the baby was not there. Prism? Where is that baby?
Lady Bracknell, I admit with shame that I do not know. I only wish I did. The plain facts of the case are these. On the morning of the day you mentioned, a morning that is forever branded on my memory, I prepared as usual to take the baby out in its perambulator. I had also with me a somewhat old but capacious handbag, in which I had intended to place the manuscript of a work of fiction that I had written during my few unoccupied hours. During a moment of mental abstraction, for which I never can forgive myself, I deposited the manuscript in the bassinet and placed the baby in the handbag.
But where did you deposit the handbag?
Do not ask me, Mr. Worthing.
This is a matter of no small importance to me. I insist on knowing where you deposited the handbag that contained that baby.
I left it in the cloakroom of one of the larger railway stations in London.
Which railway station?
Victoria, the Brighton line.
I must retire to my room a moment. Gwendolyn, will you wait for me here?
Okay.
What do you think?
Is this the handbag? Examine it carefully before you speak. The happiness of more than one life depends on your answer.
It seems to be mine. The bag is undoubtedly mine. I am delighted at having it so unexpectedly restored to me. It has been a great inconvenience being without it all these years.
More is restored to you than this handbag. I am the baby you placed in it.
You?
Yes, Mother!
Mr. Worthing, I am unmarried.
Oh,
I do not deny that it is a serious blow. But after all, who has the right to cast a stone against one who has suffered? Cannot repentance wipe out an act of folly?
Mr. Worthing, there is some error. There is the lady who can tell you who you really are.
Lady Brackner, I hate to seem inquisitive, but would you kindly inform me of who I am?
I'm afraid the news I have to tell you will not altogether please you. You are the son of my late sister, Mrs. Moncrief, and consequently, Algernon's elder brother.
Then I have a brother after all. I always knew I had a brother. Cecily, how could you have doubted that I ever had a brother? Dr. Chasuble, my unfortunate brother. Miss Prism, my unfortunate brother. Gwendolyn, my unfortunate brother. Algie, you young scoundrel, you've never treated me with any respect. You'll have to behave more like a brother in the future.
Well, I have tried, oh boy. You know, I have been rather out of practice.
My own one. But what own are you now that you become someone else?
Good heavens, I had quite forgotten that point. Your decision on the subject of my name is irrevocable, I suppose?
I never change, except in my affections.
Then the matter must be cleared up at once. Aunt Augusta, a moment. At the time when Miss Prism left me in the handbag, had I been christened already?
Every luxury which money could buy had been lavished upon you by your fond and doting parents, including christening.
Then that is settled. I was christened. But what name was I given? Let me hear the worst.
Being the eldest, you were naturally christened after your father.
Yes, but what was my father's Christian name?
I cannot at the present recall what the general's Christian name was, but I'm sure he had one.
Algie, don't you recall what our father's Christian name was?
We were hardly on speaking terms, my dear fellow. He died before I was a year old.
Mary. The general's name would appear in the army list of the time. I suppose, Aunt Augusta?
Well, the general was mostly mad at peace, except in his domestic life, but I'm sure his name would appear in any military directory.
The army list of the past 40 years are here. Oh, these delightful records should have been my constant study. Maxwell, Miriam, Morgan, what dreadful names they have. Moncrief, General 1869, Christian names. Gwendolyn, I always told you that my name was Ernest, didn't I? It really is Ernest.
I thought from the first that you could have no other name.
Oh. It is a terrible thing for a man to find out, Miss Fairfax, that all his life he's been speaking nothing but the truth. Can you forgive me?
I can. For I am positive you are sure to change.
Oh, Cecily!
Letitia!
Frederick!
Disliking the name. But wait a moment. The general's name wasn't Ernest at all. General John Moncrief. My nephew, you seem to be showing signs of triviality.
On the contrary, Aunt Augusta. I have, for the first time in my life, realized the vital importance of being earnest.
These are our two wonderful directors. Without them, we could not have done this. So here we have the program with all of our signed names on it, little note to you guys. And then we also have some lovely bouquets for you. Oh, also, we have our stage crew come on stage. Stage crew, come. Wonderful people. They could not have done this. They have been doing all the background stuff and throwing things in the air and amazing. So, take a bow, stage crew.